All right, what's up, everybody? I am Dr. CI, the CEO of Diverse City, and we are in the building with our unpopular opinion. So what happens is my team and I are going to bring up a topic related to diversity, equity, and inclusion and talk about it in an unpopular way that gets people to recognize what the conversation is about. And I'm gonna kick off this first session, and the topic is why diversity is trash. Now, this is an interesting topic. Many of you will see that and be like, what the hell is she talking about? Let me get into it. So here's the problem. Often when we go into companies, the reason that we look at diversity and say that that word itself, it represents garbage, is because people don't usually understand that there are visible and invisible diversity. So the default for diversity, equity, for diversity in companies has been mostly visible. And even when that happens, there's an interesting statement that we hear companies make. So people will say things like, oh, we need to create more diversity. We need to build more diversity. No, you don't. Let me reframe the way that you are thinking. People are already diverse and have diverse identities. You're not creating them. Okay, you are opening spaces and creating inclusive spaces where diverse employees want to work. And so my challenge here is when you make such an uninformed statement to think that you need to create diverse identities, that is not what you are doing. You need to think about diversity differently. So if you are coming from the perspective of, oh, we need to create more diversity, that's why I'm saying that the way that you think about diversity is trash. And so that's my statement. I'm sticking to it. And I am here to talk about it with my team. Y'all please go off of mute and let's have this conversation today, right now, for the next 11 to 12 minutes.
There we go. Yeah, you had me nervous for a second. You said I was like, woo, where are we going with this one? Okay.
What do y'all think about the topic that I say that I call diversity trash when it is misrepresented in companies in a way that is cliche and often inauthentic when they think about it? And I'm also going to add just one more perspective about the fact that another thing that we see is when we go into companies, even when they work to increase their diversity and improve it, they don't actually work to change their culture. So then not only does the diversity of your new employees go up, but so does your turnover and people leave. And so if you are too focused just on diversity and not building inclusive workspaces, I promise you it's not going to work and your company's going to end up paying more money in turnover and in recruitment than you expected if you don't get your shit together.
Exactly. It's like a Band-Aid fix for like a problem that needs stitches. Like it's on the surface, and you can tell if your stuff on the surface. If everybody leaving and you can't keep them, something ain't right.
Right, it's like a gash that's just bleeding out, and you trying to put a Band-Aid on it, or liquid stitches, which barely ever work. Right. So I would just say that, and I'm opening up the floor for the team to join the conversation.
People, when they ask me, like what the difference is between diversity, inclusion, and equity, I always use Pimp My Ride as an example. Why? Because it makes me think of a car. Like Pimp My Ride went off the air because they weren't actually fixing the car. So I always say equity is the engine and inclusion is the interior work. So like all the ways that people feel comfortable in the car, but they may not actually have any like say over where the car is going. But diversity work is the exterior. It's all that stuff that when that car's going down the street, it's like, ooh, look at that car. That must be a nice car. And then you make all these assumptions about the owner of the car, right? Oh, they have the money to make this car look really cool. Then they must have all this other sort of stuff. But I feel like that's why diversity is trash, right? Because it's all performative. It's all about putting out a front so that people can look and make assumptions about the interior of the car. But just like with the Pimp My Ride example, some of those cars looked really, really nice in people's driveways and they didn't do anything. They didn't go anywhere and they were just bunk. They were lemons. And I feel like organizations, when they hyper-focus on diversity, essentially are focusing on trying to create an organization who's a lemon, look really, really nice to their external sort of like this a culture or community so that people can come in, but it's a trap. I also just feel like diversity is a construct that means so many things. I have heard clients say, we have a diverse workforce, and that means everything from they have gender diversity or racial diversity or ethnic diversity or size diversity. I mean, no, actually, I'll take that back. No one talks about size, but they have diversity in other ways. And it gets to a point where what exactly is this solving? Is this solving the actual issue of inequity or even equality? Or is this just so that you can look good in front of your stakeholders and your funders?
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I would add the tokenization piece. You made me think about that because people focus so hard on getting diverse populations in the door that they're like, oh, you're our Black person. You're going to speak for all Black people as if we only come in one shape, size, sexual orientation, etc. And it's like, again, we focus on these intersections and that's when it becomes trash because you're inviting people in the door, but you're not actually giving them a voice to have impact or power in your company to change the shit that they need to change. And that's why it is trash. It's an issue.
All the facts.
And I'll say really quick, the trap of it comes too of like, it reminds me of like when you apply for college and you get those handbooks that have every possible skin tone and like the one person with an assistive device. And then you get to the college campus, like, where are those 10 people? At least those 10 people. So it's like, sometimes when you have, you know, these diversity initiatives, oh, look at our staff list. It's so diverse. Like, is it? Like, if I come and I apply there, like, is there actually, are those people actually there? Are they models? Like, so there's also a piece of this too, where I have definitely had that experience where the organization puts out this really, really nice exterior, and then you get there and the interior is just trash. Diversity on its own is just trash.
That's right.
I'm gonna pipe in. I completely agree with you. I feel like many organizations put on this front that they really do care about diversity, but they're all hypocritical and they're all lying. And I know that because I've worked in two different industries. I've worked in education and then I worked in the corporate world. And they put out these fronts all the time. And by the way, I'm always the token Black person, right? In every situation I go to. And it's so awkward being in these environments because they say one thing on paper and then everyone will repost it on LinkedIn and say, yeah, we're a very, you know, diverse organization, and then won't do anything to change policies. They won't do anything to change procedures. They won't do anything to really like actually solve the issues that are going on. And so, you know, the past couple of months when I go on LinkedIn and I see different companies having these different diverse statements, I just laugh. I laugh and I think, who wrote this over the weekend? This is such a blank statement. This is such trash. And I actually think I did post, I called someone out. I don't remember who it was, but I called someone out. Of course, LinkedIn didn't make a trend because I called them out. But I mean, that's just my thought of, if you're really going to put a statement out there, you need to do what you're saying. And you can't just say it just to look good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Like, they look at us and be like, we let you in the door. We gave you a job. Now shut up and do your job.
Right.
And take this mistreatment that we going to give you while you in the role.
Right.
Yeah.
I am very much the show me the data person. So when people and companies release these DEI statements, I'm like, great, but what are your metrics actually like? And I was really glad to see in this summer, companies voluntarily, now that Black Lives Matter is picking up again, voluntarily offering on social media, on their websites, etc., what their diversity metrics actually look like. And then taking it one step further where they're like, this is what we're gonna do to fix it, because some of those metrics were abysmal. So I'm glad these companies are taking that social responsibility, but it's only because we, the people, the consumers, etc., put the pressure on people.
That's right.
And put the pressure on these companies to do so. So I'm glad to see it.
Yeah. And you know, you made me think about something, Derrick, and I lost it that fast. It's like, God damn it, I lost my train of thought that quickly because you was just speaking to my soul. Somebody else is gonna come back to me. And when it does, I'll be ready.
You can just jump right back in.
Yeah. I'm like, what was I gonna say? It was about diversity and something he said in relation to data. Oh, you know how companies, it's like with affirmative action, right? So all of a sudden we were tracking data in companies and talking about how affirmative action was going to improve diversity within companies. But the challenge with that, and what most people don't know, is when affirmative action began, and I haven't looked recently in the last 3 to 5 years at what the differences have been, the main beneficiaries of affirmative action, do you know who they were? It was white women, right? And so companies were improving their gender diversity among other intersections that, of course, white women have. And I'm not saying that you don't deserve equal opportunity and that you don't struggle in companies. But here's what I am saying. If visibly it is homogenous, there's a problem. If invisibly it is homogenous, there is a problem. And so, you know, people like, oh, now we have diversity. And I was like, yeah, but what kind of diversity? Because I also think that's the issue. People group diversity in a whole and don't look at gender diversity, socioeconomic class, racial diversity, and a list of all the things. It's like they want to stick to one component of diversity and say, that was easy for us to accomplish. Now we can move on. And it's like, oh, no. You're not as diverse as you think you are yet. Pump the brakes, have a seat, and listen.
Exactly. Let me write that down.
So that's our team. That's how we feel about diversity is trash within companies. This has been a quick episode of Unpopular Opinion. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, like and share our videos. We appreciate all of your support, and we're going to be coming at you again with another Unpopular Opinion next week. Until then, y'all take care.